Joe Hopkins here, and oh lordy, I got banjos. Which banjo is better? Now, there are two types of banjos. You might argue that. Oh, right. I got a 5-string bluegrass banjo, and there are 4-string tenor banjos and 4-string ukulele banjos, and there are 6-string banjos, and there's all kinds of banjos. There's a ton of banjos. I've even seen banjolins or whatever. It's a mandolin banjo combination. All kinds of banjos, right? But in essence, there's two types. There's resonator banjo and open back banjo, right? All the banjos you get come in one of these types. You either got a resonator on it or the back is open. And I'm going to tell you the differences just in case you want to get a banjo. You need to know what kind to get. Now, like I said, these are 5-string bluegrass banjos. I tune to open G. Right? Now, there are other string sets of banjos. You have your tenor banjos, you have different types of 4-string banjos, your jazz banjos. I told you, you got a ton of them. 6-string banjos, which is basically a guitar with a banjo body. You know, it's tuned like a guitar. But when I buy a banjo, I tend to get 5-string bluegrass banjo. That's what I play. And like I said, two types. This one is my resonator banjo. You'll see that it's got a resonator across the back, a wooden resonator, right? If you play guitar, you might know a thing or two about resonator guitars, where it's got that big hubcap on the front. And the whole point of a resonator, right, whether it's the metal resonator on the front of a resonator guitar or the wooden resonator on the back of a resonator banjo, is to resonate. It adds volume. It makes it louder. The whole point of this originally was back in the days before amplification, and you want to play over the rest of the band. Let's admit it, guitars, banjos, instruments like that aren't terribly loud. It's a way to add volume. This is a loud instrument, right? Quite loud, actually. This resonator does its job. Why is it on the back instead of on the front like with a guitar? Because the sound from a guitar comes out the front, that sound hole. It resonates inside the body, and the sound comes out, projects out the front of the guitar. Not so with the banjo. You have this drum head on the front, and the sound comes out the back. And this, if you look at it, it's got little holes all around there where the sound resonates out from that resonator. Makes it quite loud. When you think modern banjo sound, modern meaning 1950s and on, you know, that bluegrass sound with the real plucky, twangy kind of feel to it there, you're thinking resonator banjo, right? And they're not just loud. If you use finger picks, it's even louder and can be heard over the rest of the band. That was the point. Especially back when banjos were used for all kinds of things, including in bands with wind instruments and, you know, like brass instruments and flutes and clarinets and oboes. And yes, banjos were used in those ensembles. You need to project. You need to get out where it can actually be heard. Resonator. Same point with a resonator guitar. It made it louder. Now we look at resonator guitars as having a particular sound because we can amplify things. But back then, the whole point was volume. And that was the point with the banjo. Still is kind of. Plus, it gives it that extra twangy, plucky sound. And you can see it's a loud instrument, you know? It's a loud instrument. Gets that twang, right? You want that bluegrass sound that everybody who plays bluegrass wants. You want a resonator banjo. Very bluegrassy, right? Gets the twang. Now I also have an open back banjo. Now, I've seen these in different styles. This one's got steel strings, but I've seen them with nylon strings too, which is a much more classical banjo. Before the 1950s, this is what a banjo was more like, before that real plucky, twangy bluegrass sound. It's got a much folkier sound and is a lot less volume. It doesn't have a resonator. It's just got an open back. And there's where the sound comes from. So it's not as loud. You can see it's got a softer sound. It's got a softer tone. You get one that has nylon strings, it's even softer yet. Traditional banjos were open back and a lot of times had gut strings back in like the 1800s and whatnot, when this was a popular instrument. The banjo was the popular instrument at one time, not the guitar. The guitar has risen to prominence pretty much since like the 1940s, 50s. They started amplifying guitars. Rock and roll became a thing. That's really where the guitar became a primary instrument. Before that, the banjo was the instrument of choice, and you hear a lot of banjo playing in a lot of early recordings of early recorded music. Folk music tended to focus on the banjo more than the guitar. And like I said, the open back banjo, this is open back. The back is open, no resonator. And this is the style of banjo that was traditionally used. Much softer tone. You can hear that it's not as loud. I'm just using this mic. The other one is plenty loud. This one, I'm hoping it picks it up enough. I don't do a lot of finger picking on the banjo anymore. Never really did learn it. I always did the frailing, hammer claw, you know? But yeah, if you want something that you can sing along with without having to really have to project your voice very hard, this is kind of the one you want. If you want that more traditional folky sound, this is the one you want. You know what I mean? It is nice having a banjo that I don't have to project as much with, or I can get a softer sound. A lot of modern Americana music, and even in pop and rock music, they use a lot of banjo sounds, and sometimes they go for those softer tones, which you can hear. This isn't that real twangy, plucky bluegrass sound. It's a different sounding kind of banjo. And if that's what you want, something softer or something that's easier to sing along with without having to shout, this might be the instrument for you, right? You gotta make up your mind. Like I said, even with other types of banjos, not just 5 strings, all of them come in those 2 varieties, open back and resonator. So even if you're getting a guitar banjo, which kind do you want? Do you want the really twangy, plucky, or do you want something with a softer tone? Now, like I said, you can get even softer than this if you find nylon string banjos, which aren't as easy to find. You know what I mean? Usually most places there's steel string banjos when you go to buy one, and it's either resonator or open back. If you know where there are some used instrument stores that have older instruments, sometimes you can find those nylon string banjos, or from specialty shops. And if you find very old banjos, one of my favorite music stores, which closed during COVID, unfortunately, but they had very old banjos, ones from like the 1800s, that would have originally had gut strings, but were restrung with nylon strings now, and they had very soft, very pleasant tones to them, if you want that kind of thing. Personally, I like my resonator banjo. This one here, I tend to have not a lot of trouble projecting my voice. A lot of times I'm quite loud, even when I sing. I've always been able to project well, so I can project over it, and this one actually gets lost under my voice. Now, if you're somebody whose singing voice isn't quite that much punch, right? If you're not like a real wailing kind of singer, you might want to get an open back banjo so that you don't drown yourself out. I've noticed some people whose voices aren't quite as strong get drowned out with a resonator banjo. So when you're choosing, that might be something you want to decide. Or how loud do you want it to be? That resonator banjo, if you live in an apartment and the walls aren't terribly thick, you're going to wake people up with that thing. Whereas this, that's not that loud. You're not going to wake people up. You can even back off a bit and pick quieter. And you can be as soft and mellow as you want with this, which might be good for people who are night owls or live in an apartment. They don't want to disturb a bunch of people around them. That can be a good thing. Now, there are some places that have electric banjos that don't, they don't have a head on them. They don't make much noise at all, and you plug it in, put on your headphones. That's great. We've all seen like the guitars that are like that. They have banjos like that too. But usually most banjos are acoustic, and this one just isn't terribly loud. Now, if you're into recording, you have to decide what kind of sound you want. Volume doesn't matter with that. You're going to mic it, and you're going to adjust, make your adjustments. So it doesn't matter how loud or quiet an instrument is, it's the tone, the particular sound that you're looking for. And this does have a sweeter sound to it. Now, it's going to be a little bit louder if you use finger picks, but I don't. So, yeah, and I've used this banjo for recording a good bit just because I like how it sounds. Now, this is a Harley Benton. This was, when I bought it, about $100. You know what I mean? And Harley Benton sells resonator banjos too, which is good for somebody looking for a resonator banjo, because this one isn't a Harley Benton. This is my Ida, which is Japanese made, and this is from the 80s. You can't get these anymore. But unless you find one at a pawn shop or a used instrument store. But Harley Benton makes one very similar that's also very affordable. Also, other companies, if you're looking to buy a banjo, there are other companies that sell banjos that aren't terribly expensive. If you go to like Musician's Friend or Sweetwater and look up banjos, you'll find that Washburn and Ibanez and a lot of other companies make banjos at various prices. Glary has had banjos at different times. I don't think they do right now. You got to look around though. Different companies, it might surprise you, carry banjos. You don't normally think of Ibanez, but Ibanez does make banjos. So do a lot of companies that make guitars. I've seen Gibson banjos. I've seen Fender banjos, although I haven't seen a Fender in quite a while. But at one time, they must have made banjos, because I've seen them. All kinds of different companies make them. Or you can find your local craftsman that makes instruments. Quite a few people make banjos, and but those tend to cost a bit. If you're looking for the cheapy cheap, my recommendation is Harley Benton. That's the best place to go, and they usually have them. But yeah, what kind of banjo do you want? Go for volume? Go for a softer tone? It's all up to you. I've given you all the information you need to pick which, oh my, I'm dropping things, to pick which banjo you want here. And I'm going to pick a little bit. Yeah, so there you go. That's a different type of banjos. I hope you found this video informative. In a minute here, some playlists come up, and you should check them out. Absolutely, you should check them out, including the playlist that says, I Didn't Get a Memory. That's my album. It's rock and roll stuff. Rock and roll. No banjos. Sorry, maybe next time I'll do banjos. And there's links to streaming down below, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Love y'all. Peace out, baby. Bye-bye.